Hey, it's Kim Commando Today, your daily podcast to keep you up to date with all things digital and beyond. And I'd love to have you be a part of our podcast. You can make an appointment to speak with me. Just head over to commando.com, and on the top right, there's a button that says Email Kim. Fill that out, and that's it.
$500,000 worth of jewels. Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. A tourist in New York City was carrying a briefcase filled with $500,000 worth of gems and jewels. And he was in Queens. He stopped by for a slice of pizza, got a little hungry. And as he left the restaurant, two guys jumped out of a black SUV. They grabbed his briefcase, they roughed him up, and then they just sped off. But here's where it gets good. The guy had an idea to toss an Apple AirTag inside the briefcase. So police were able to track the jewels. They busted the crooks. But seriously, who walks around New York City, Queens, carrying a briefcase with $500,000 in gems? Oh my gosh. Luckily, law enforcement was there too. Ready for it? Break the case. Oh, that was bad. And on that happy note, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are about ready to get tech ahead, because otherwise you're going to be left tech behind in the digital dust. Because after all, it's my job as America's beloved digital goddess, Kim Commando, here with you once again. And let me tell you, this is the best show. It's the biggest show. It's the award-winning show you can find on over 420 top stations across the United States. And of course, we're streaming in your favorite radio app. Just search for my last name, Commando. And you can also get the Kim Commando Show as a commercial-free podcast. That's right. Wherever you get your podcast, just search for Commando with a K, of course. And a big hello and salute goes out to all of our listeners on the American Forces Network Radio, reaching over 375,000 U.S. service members serving in 175 countries. And I just love this. 200 ships at sea also get the Kim Commando Show. Now, let me tell you, great sponsors help to make this show possible. I always give out promo codes and unique addresses, and you're sitting there saying, oh, Kim, what is that address? What's that promo code? Fear not, dear one. Just go to one spot, commando.com/sponsors. And I'd like to thank Incogni for helping to make this show possible. You know, during the holidays, when there's just so much to do, we're all moving so quickly to get it all done, it's easy to make a mistake and then just hand over your personal data without even realizing it. That's why it's so important to visit privacykim.com, and that's where you're going to get my deal in Incogni to remove yourself from the internet and the dark web. And you're going to get 60% off right now at privacykim.com. Once again, that's privacykim.com. You know, every single day, rain or shine, weekday, weekends, national holidays, I am online talking to industry insiders to make sure that I know exactly what's happening in the tech world. And here are the top 5 things you need to know about right now, because it's going to impact your life. And we're going to start with number 1. Back in November of 2022, that's when I predicted the death of the website. I did. Yep, over 2 years ago. People thought I was like crazy. You should have seen the notes I was getting from people like, oh, Kim Commando, you finally lost it. Oh, Kim, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, Kim, I like this one. AI is just a fad. With the exception of most online stores, the web page is now dead, because you no longer need to visit a website to get the answers to your questions, because AI will just give you any answer that you want, just bypass all the websites altogether. So if you're not using ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Google's AI-powered search, I mean, you can instantly get the answer that you want. So that's why web traffic has just plunged. And web publishers everywhere are facing this unexpected death. And instead of SEO or search engine optimization, here's what you need to know about. There's a brand new field called AI content optimization. What? ACO. That's right. And basically what's going to do is use artificial intelligence to figure out, how do you get the AI chatbots to actually write about you and then link to your website or mention your website? Again, it's called AI content optimization. That's going to be a big thing next year. All right, moving on to number 2. This Christmas, it's easier than ever to just buy gifts that you can't afford, even if you have a few blemishes on your credit. And of course, with no Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or any other major credit card, you can still buy whatever you want. What am I talking about? BNPL. Yeah, because everything in the tech world always has an acronym. That's Buy Now, Pay Later. And basically, it's services like Afterpay, Affirm, Klarna, and there are even more BNPL options on just about any online site. But here's the deal. I want you to check the fine print for the interest rates, because you're not going to believe this, but some of the rates are like 36%, late fees 25%. And regardless of what you may hear, buy now, pay later can really affect your credit. So if you can't afford it now, you're probably not going to be able to afford it later. Moving on to number 3, selfies have been declared a public health risk. What? Yes, that's right. I don't know if you know this, but here's a little fun fact for you. The word selfie actually originated in Australia back in 2011. And by that time, 33,000 deaths by selfies were already being reported each and every year. But these selfie photographers, they just mindlessly walk into traffic. They back up too close to the edge of a cliff. They've died while standing on train tracks, posing with rattlesnakes, yikes, holding loaded guns to their heads, wow, getting hit by landing jets, that's true. The average age of a fatal selfie victim is just 22, which it's only right that Australia is now leading the way for declaring selfies to be a public health risk. Yes. And what does that mean? Warning labels. Yep, we're going to have warning labels on our phones about taking a selfie in a dangerous situation. Moving on to number 4, how much do you think somebody can charge for your personal information on the dark web? Like, for example, your Instagram name and password, it's pretty cheap. It's about $14. Your Facebook sign-in credentials, $12. Twitter is $10. TikTok names and passwords, pretty cheap at $8. Now, the big kahuna is LinkedIn. LinkedIn credentials, they are the big prize. Each name and password is worth about $45. Why? Because with your LinkedIn login details, an attacker can easily just impersonate you. They can contact all your connections in your name. They can decline job offers, respond inappropriately to messages. So if you haven't changed your LinkedIn password for some time, consider this like the sign that you need to do that like right now. And finally, this coming in at number 5, it's been a really rough year for rental property owners because we're all choosing hotels over Airbnb and Verbos. And with all these new products being sold on Amazon, look for the hotel trend to continue. What I'm talking about, new products like hidden cameras. Now, I ran across one the other day, and we're actually going to buy one. And I'm going to install it, and I'm going to do a whole YouTube series about it because this is really crazy. It's a spy camera that's disguised to look like just an ordinary bathroom outlet because a lot of Airbnbs and Vrbo's problems are these stories of these creepy hidden cameras. But this ordinary bathroom outlet, okay, here's what it says, the description about it on Amazon. This spy camera utilizes the existing 120-volt AC power inside your wall. Just replace with your existing receptacle. Okay. The top outlet works as normal. The bottom outlet contains a camera lens, Wi-Fi enabled, view live video and remote playback from anywhere in the world. Oh my gosh, isn't that nuts? So, let me tell you something. If you're out and about and the top outlet works, or just one of it works, keep in mind it could have a hidden camera in the bottom or the top outlet. You just never know. So if you're going to be renting an Airbnb or Vrbo over the holidays, here's what you need to do. Number 1, we've got links to the best RF detectors on commando.com. Just search for RF detector. It'll pick up these hidden cameras. You can also look for MAC addresses inside the router settings. If you don't know what that is or how to do that, again, the steps are over on my website. And you can also just shine your phone's flashlight, make sure the room's dark, and what you want to look for are any type of reflections, because the bottom line, Santa isn't the only one watching. That's right. Hey, let's talk about over 40,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle. You know, it's the number 1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all into one fluid platform. You get real-time insights and forecasting, so you're peering into the future with actionable data. And when you're closing the books in days and not weeks, you're spending less time looking backward and more time on what's next. Now, you don't have to be a CFO, by the way, to download the CFO's Guide to AI Machine Learning for free, but you have to go to this address, netsuite.com/Kim. Once again, that's netsuite.com/Kim. All right, here's where you need to go, winfromkim.com. Once again, winfromkim.com, no purchase required, because I'm going to be giving you, but you have to enter to win, of course, and win, a $500 Amazon gift card. Once again, that's winfromkim.com, winfromkim.com. All right, let's get started with all your phone calls. Danielle in Chicago, Illinois, listening to us on the Big WOS. Hi there, Danielle.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Anytime. What's going on?
So I have an iPhone 12, and I am wondering if I want to upgrade it to like a 15. I don't need a fancy, smancy 16, solely for the camera, though.
So Let's see. So you don't want to go to a 16?
I'm just being cheaper than a 16.
Yeah, I get you. Well, anytime you start looking at technology, if it becomes, say, 2 or 3 generations old, then you really definitely want to start looking at an upgrade. And when you start looking at the difference between a 12 and a 15, it's pretty substantial. Number one, what I like about the 15 versus the 12 is for your safety. I know you asked about the camera, is that it has that SOS button. So if you're ever in a bind and you don't have any bars, then you can use satellites to send a text message. But when we start looking at the camera, it's going to be a big jump for you. So if you take a selfie with the 12, let me just tell you, you're going to look a lot better than on the 15 because the 12 is a 12 megapixel. The 15 is 48.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So your details, it's going to be a sharper image. It has better zoom. It has a 2x optical zoom. So if you are, taking pictures for eBay or something like that, or you just like to zoom in on stuff, you can do that. Has better low light performance, and it has a better chip on the inside for that camera too. So it's definitely worth upgrading.
Awesome.
And so if you have some money laying around and you can do a trade in. And they are still probably offering, they being the carriers and the sites, probably still offering pretty good deals on the 15. And you're smart in waiting because the prices of these phones, they always go down when a new model is released. And so now the 15s, they're kind of looking at well, I guess it's okay, but you really want the 16, don't you? I mean, don't you want to have the latest and greatest? Well, no, the 15 is a definite step up and, worth the money. But speaking of the iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence, in case you want to win one of those, just head to winfromkim.com. Once again, that's winfromkim.com. I'm giving one away right now, and I could be calling you and telling you that you're a winner. But if you don't enter, I can't call you. Winfromkim.com, no purchase required. Boy, this looks like a great question. Mark in Kingman, Arizona. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Kim. How are you?
Fantastic. What's going on?
Well, I'm a former radio guy. I spent 10 years on the air with a talk show, and I want to get into the podcasting world. Apparently, that's the wave of the future. So I really have no practical knowledge with it. So I'm wondering how to get into it, how to monetize it, where to host it, something legitimate.
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, it's going to be a bit of a variety show, probably politics, history, American history, world history, that kind of thing. It's going to be a targeted market.
And then how many podcasts have you listened to so far?
A bunch.
Okay, good. Because I can't tell you how many people, Mark, I ask about, and they're like, well, I haven't listened to any yet. I'm like, okay.
Oh, no. I listen to a lot of them.
All right, good. So you know the drill on how it all works.
Yeah.
And because you've been in radio, and you do have a great voice, I can tell.
Thank you very much.
Is that it's, that's also a big part of it. So there are different ways. After you do your podcast, you get it all down. Podcast length, it used to be anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes, but now research is saying that podcasts can actually be longer because people are starting to podcast when they're in the house, then they're listening to in the car. And so by the time they get to work, it may be 40, 45 minutes. You have different platforms that are going to host it for you. You don't want to host it yourself. You want to have somebody else do it for you. Okay.
Like iHeart?
I would not use iHeart. I would use Libsyn, Libsyn. That's who I'm using right now. And what they're going to do is Libsyn is going to put you on Apple, Spotify, Google, Tuned In, iHeart, all the rest, Amazon.
Okay.
So what they do is that you do a deal with Libsyn, and you're gonna upload your file to Libsyn, and then you're gonna say, you know what, you can put ads in it for me until I sell the ads, and then they're gonna take a piece of the action. It starts at $5 a month for 50 megs of storage, and then you get analytics, and then it tells you how many people are downloading, how many people are listening. And so then you start building your product, building your base. Libsyn's competitor, they have a few. One is called Buzzsprout. And then you also have Megaphone, which is really big. Megaphone is part of Spotify.
Oh, okay.
So what I don't want you to do is go into like the little tiny companies. So that's why I want you
Right.
to stay with the bigger companies. Okay, so you do your pod, you figure out who's going to host it, distribute it, and then you also have to put your podcast into all the directories too. So you're going to have to log on to Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube Music. Now it's not Google Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeart, and wherever. And then that's where you get that URL, and that's where you're also going to plug that into Megaphone. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Okay. So if you build it, I will tell you they will not come. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's where you really have to get into social media, promote your episodes wherever you can. You know this from being in radio that, you have to build your audience, build a list. Is this enough to get you started?
Yes, it is. And I just wanted to say I'm from the old days of the tickler file. So, yes, I'm well aware of keeping lists.
Yes, exactly. So as you get this going, and you start thinking about other venues or things that, if you have questions about, how to sell the ads or what kind of CPM that you should be looking for on a podcast. I mean, the CPMs are all across the board. That's cost per thousand, folks, in case you're not knowing about that. That's how much it's going to cost you to get 1,000 downloads, which isn't necessarily listens, which is a whole nother story. But, you can look anywhere from $3 to $4 to up to $30 or $40 CPM, depending upon what the personality is or who the person is and what exactly the content is. So, Mark, keep us posted on your progress, and you can do this, folks. You can do it. I actually looked this up the other day. How many podcasts do you think are on Spotify? How many podcasts? How many different podcasts? Just throw a number out there. You ready for it? You're wrong. 4.7 million podcasts. On Apple Podcasts, there's around 2.5 million podcasts. But this is where it gets super interesting. As of June of this year, Apple Podcasts had about 460,000 podcasts. Okay, remember the number was 2.5, but they really only have 460,000. Well, it's still a lot of podcasts that are active, meaning nearly half have 3 or fewer episodes. So if you're looking to get into the podcast business, you have to always produce a podcast on a regular basis. Hey, are you tired of dealing with annoying passwords? NordPass ends the madness for good, so you can forget juggling dozens or even hundreds of passwords. And right now, you can get a deal over at nordpass.com/Kim. It's just $1.23 a month. That's nordpass.com/Kim. All right, Apple and Google Maps are great for driving directions, but if you don't have a cell connection, what good is the map? Because it's not going to be moving with you. That's why I want you to make sure that you always, if you're going somewhere, driving around for the holidays, make sure that you have offline maps. And so basically, you're going to look for the more or the 3-dot menu. Tap that, and you can download an offline map. And by the way, if you're traveling overseas and you're paying for data, having your maps available offline is going to save you from those expensive roaming charges. Yeah, one time I came back from Peru, I had like a $700 cell phone bill. I was like, yikes, I knew better. Have you ever wondered what happens to all the returns from Amazon and Walmart and Target and other places? Well, you can actually buy them, and that's what a lot of people are doing. And then they're reselling all that stuff online. We're talking about that in just a few minutes. And, of course, we have your phone calls. But before we do all that, let's talk about if you're in the market for buying a TV this time of year. I only want you to buy an OLED screen, okay? They're the brightest, they're the most vivid, they're the sharpest, they are the high contrast screens that you can get. Now, the video motion is what's called ultra smooth. So as you're shopping, I don't want you to get suckered into like, oh, it's a $300 TV, it's a $500 TV. Okay, the video that you're going to see on the cheap imports, it's going to look all washed out and super bland. And so again, you're only going to get an OLED screen. Let's see, Sharon in San Francisco. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for your call.
I am a very new fan, and I was referred from a friend who is just an avid follower.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank that person.
Wonderful. Well, I shall. I do that frequently as a friend. I am just so thrilled that we've got a digital expert out there in this overwhelming, ever-changing, impersonal world that we call being online.
Yeah, for sure.
So I am a vibrant widow, and I have been using one of the online dating apps for around 3 years or so called Match.com. You may have heard of it.
Oh, for sure.
And recently, I went on to see what faces might be there to greet me. And, Kim, they were all blurred out. And I thought, boy, this must be a tech issue with the site. So I just went back in a day or so and looked again, and the same issue. So I checked on my account and saw that it needed a refreshed credit card for payment.
Okay.
I put in that new card. They accepted my payment. And then I could not get access to my own account. I was trying to log in with user and password. Nothing was being accepted. And so I was trying to get a password reset. I couldn't get that to happen. So I find out, how do I get to customer service for Match.com? I learned that there's only an email address.
Nice.
To send a question to.
I love that.
No
love that.
Chat.
That's so good.
No chat, no live person. And so I do email, and of course their volume's very heavy right now, they said, so it would take 2 or 3 days to get a reply. I did get a reply, and it was very much a canned response that did not answer my question whatsoever.
So somebody must have turned you in for something. Somebody flagged your account as being bogus, fraud, whatever
possibly.
It may be. And, at this point, with your credit card company, of course, you can always, dispute.
Which I'm disputing.
Yeah, just dispute that. Well, yeah, and, there's so much fraud on the dating sites, and
really,
and they just, I'm sure they're just like, you know what, she's banned. That's it. We don't know if it's real or not, and they don't want to give you a reason, because then if you lawyer up, then the reason's gonna be like, oh, I got emotional distress because you told me this, So that's why all these canned responses are canned because legal has approved them.
I understand.
And so nobody will vary from that. You can always file a complaint with the Better Business Bureau or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I mean,
right.
You might get a response quicker from them than you will actually from the company, because they don't want that FBBB rating.
Yes.
And then you find out, what is their company slogan? What is it that they keep saying over and over in their shareholder meetings?
Yes.
And then you put that, you say, Dear Bob or Mary, whatever it is, and you say that Match.com provides a superior service to any other dating platform in the universe, end quote. Okay. I haven't found that to be the case. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you've been banned, their bots and their legalese, it's going to be really hard to get back. Sharon, thank you for your call today. And thanks for being a new fan. That's awesome. All right, let's switch gears just a little bit. There's a lot of outdated tech myths out there, like magnets will erase your data, and overcharging your devices kills the battery life, and you can't get a virus on your phone. Well, yes, you can. I mean, think about this. Your phone is just, a computer, and it's a huge target for malicious software. And just think about all the private and financial info that you have stored on it. And here are some symptoms that totally spell trouble. Like, for example, your phone is slower than usual. Maybe the apps are crashing. Your battery's draining faster than usual. Now, let me tell you, your phone has some built-in safeguards, but the more help you can get, the better off you are. And if your phone is not protected by antivirus software, now is the time to get Total AV. It's the antivirus software award-winning that I use and recommend, and it just protects you wherever you browse, keeps your phone running efficiently, and spots all those shady websites for you. All that for just $19 a year. So stop waiting for the worst to happen, and here's what you need to do. Go to protectwithkim.com, and you're going to get Total AV for $19 for the first year. I mean, what a bargain. Up to 5 devices. Protectwithkim.com. Alrighty, then, have you ever wondered what happens to all the merch that customers send back to Amazon and Walmart? Okay, because even the stuff that gets returned, they're still going to want to sell it. And as it turns out, we returned more than $500 billion in merchandise. So what Amazon and Walmart does is they box all this stuff up and then they resell it in bulk. And then customers line up to buy these mystery boxes full of clothes and toys and flat screens, cameras, tablets, you name it. And YouTube is just packed with videos of customers making this used merchandise ready for resale. So you can get like a 2x2 foot box just crammed full. And maybe it's going to sell for like $10 or $20 or something like that. You can also buy pallets of this stuff. Now, one of the things I want to warn you about is that, yes, this is a legitimate business. And yes, you can make money at it. But there are so many scams out there. And say like, oh yeah, you can buy a pallet from us for $25 and you can make $2,000. And here's another place that you can buy a box of stuff. No. What I want you to do is actually go physically to what's called a bin store. That's BIN, a bin store. And that's where you can find a lot of these returns that you may be able to actually make some money at. So don't fall for the online scams and for the YouTube videos that say we're going to teach you how to do it. Just search for a bin store near me. Again, that's BIN, a bin store. All righty, we're not getting any younger, sorry to say, but you can bring back your natural radiance with Native Path Collagen. It's scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, support tissue recovery. It's going to reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen your nails. Get 45% off and free shipping right now at getnativepath.com/Kim. That's getnativepath.com/Kim. Tim in Atlanta, Georgia, glad to have you with us.
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful.
The reason why I was calling today was I'm curious, have you done any research or has anybody even brought it up to you other than me about these earbud translators where you, I'm going to call it your ear cheat.
So are you trying to figure out how somebody from New York talks to somebody from Georgia?
Yeah. You definitely need a translator for that.
Well, okay. Let me back up, Tim. Let me just tell you. Last week, I went to my husband's family reunion in Augusta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And they referred to me as, that there's Kim. She's from the North.
She's from the North.
I was like, I actually looked at him and said, I thought we won that war, like in the 1800s. I'm just saying. Okay. Just saying.
Oh, yeah. All right. No, if you want to go down that road, I can.
We're not going down that road. So are you planning on traveling the world or what are you thinking?
Well, I am. I'm retired or retarded, however you want to look at that. I spent 32 years in the Army, so I'm ready to go see a different part of the world.
I see. Well, thank you for your service, number one.
Part. I want to see the fun, good part.
All right. Well, here's the deal. Most of the world speaks English, just to let you know.
Oh, I know.
And if they don't, there are easy workarounds. I've traveled to probably 36 different countries. The only place that I have ever been where I felt like I don't know what they're saying is Japan. And even under that scenario, I pulled up Google Translate on my phone and had it listen to what somebody was saying, then said it back to me in English, and then I spoke to my phone, and then they translated it to Japanese. In the airport, they don't speak English. There are no English translation signs, nothing, in Tokyo and other parts of Japan. And so I did feel like I don't even know what train to go. I don't even know what platform to go to. And that was a little rough, but it was able to get around it. Now, these translation tools are coming. They're just not where you need to have it right now.
That was what I was curious about with the AI, because there's several different AI translators. I was just curious if you'd ever, messed with anybody, send them to you.
I have tried them. Even the Google Pixel Buds, you need the phone for it to use. And they're not expensive. They're like, $200-$300 for what they do. There are some languages that work offline, meaning that you don't have to have your phone with you all the time.
Right.
As well as to have a connection, because, the whole idea is that you may need this where you don't have 5 bars, right?
Correct.
And until we get to a point where our cell phones are being provided service by satellites, we're still tied to, having 3 or 4, 5 bars. Yeah, we need service. There is one that you might want to look at. It's called LandGoGo Genesis.
LandGoGo Genesis.
Yeah, it's at $300. But when you look at what they do, you pretty much have the same capability with your phone in using Google Translate. Let me tell you, they have done just a fabulous job with that app.
Now I use that occasionally. Is the Translate, the Google Translate. It worked pretty good on a date.
Oh, that's good. Honey, I love you.
She couldn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Portuguese. So
okay, well, there you go. Well, see, that's what we're talking about. Now we're talking. We're not talking about traveling the world. We're talking about finding love. That's what we need. That's what we want. Mi amor. It's all about the love. Try Go. There's also Pocket Talk Classic, but I think if you just put Google Translate on a phone, but right now at least, I think it's just pretty darn good. And thanks for your call, Tim. All right, let's see. Wendy in Springfield, Illinois. Hello there, Wendy.
Hi.
Welcome.
My question for you, I work part-time, and I want to see if you can recommend some websites where I could go apply for some jobs that I could, like typing jobs that I could do remotely from home, so I don't have to go into an office every day.
Oh, I see. Okay. What are you doing now?
I work, I've been an administrative assistant my whole career.
Okay.
And that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. Well, there are certainly so many different places that you can get a remote position. They always post the remote jobs that say ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, and Indeed. But you just always have to be careful, make sure it's legit.
I know. That's the problem I've been having. A lot of them don't sound like they're up and up.
Yeah, I know. And you're going to find this on just about any job posting site, really. But if you're looking for a remote, there's a company called We Work Remotely. That's a website, not a company. It's a site called We Work Remotely. Also remote.co. I've heard some good things from. And then finally, there's another site that, because you've been an administrative assistant, you might want to look at. It's called Angel List. And that's really for positions with startup companies. So, so here's the deal. Wherever you go, whatever job that you look at, you have to be really, really smart. Okay. You want to make sure that you watch out for any red flag, anything that says, so they all of a sudden, like, you apply and they say, oh, you're hired. You're like, well, you didn't even talk to me. And then then what they say is like, oh, well, we need you to use a special computer. So we're going to send you $2,000 to buy a brand new Windows computer so you can work for us. And you're like, oh, that sounds really great. Okay. Then they send you a check for $4,000. And you're like, oh, you sent me too much. Like, oh, no. You know what? Just deposit that in your bank and then send us the difference. You see where I'm going?
Man. Yeah. Okay. Some of the sites have been like that. It's like, I don't know. And sometimes you can tell when they're emailing you back and their English isn't so good yes. and their spelling isn't so good. So it's not legit.
And so you're smart. I mean, always verify the job postings. Take a look at, multiple sources. If you can apply directly through the company's official career pages, that's always your best bet. Always your best bet.
Okay.
So
that's good to know.
So instead of just going through, because I'll tell you, not too long ago, there were fake job postings for podcast editors for my company.
Okay. And for your company.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. We didn't put them up. And all of a sudden I'm getting emails from people saying, I applied for the job for the podcasting editor and I passed all the tests and now, when can I start? And I'm like, what is that about? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why it sounds kind of crazy, but I want you to make sure that you just verify everything along the way because, I don't want you to get taken. And really, always trust your gut. If it feels off, it's probably off. All right. I have a couple of things that I need to talk to you guys and gals about. Number one, if you're just too shy to come on a big time radio show and podcast, I get that, but I always want to help you out. And so I know that you can drop me all your questions all over social media and you DM me. Now, the best place for you to leave me your questions, I know it sounds kind of old school, and it is, but I want you to go to commando.com. And there's a link at the top that says Ask Kim. Again, that's commando.com. And you want to hit that link that says Ask Kim. Now, I want to talk to you about my newsletter. If you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, let me tell you, you are just missing out. I mean, I checked. We have a 98.6% positive rating right now on the newsletter with over 300,000 reviews. I know. I look at these numbers too, and I'm like, how did this happen? So if you're not already getting my newsletter, just go ahead and sign up. Head over to getkim.com. Once again, that's getkim.com. I'm not going to sell, lease, distribute your email address to anybody ever. And you're really going to like the newsletter. And if you are already subscribed to the newsletter, I just want to say a big thanks because you've made 2024 an amazing year for our newsletter and for our entire team. And again, if you haven't already signed up, just do it now while you're thinking about it. Head over to getkim.com. All right, it's an old scam with kind of a new twist. It starts like this. Hey there, I'm Steve from UPS and I can't find your house to make a delivery. Could you call me back? And you're like, oh, of course I have a delivery from UPS or FedEx or just USPS or just fill in the blank, okay? Now, if you call the number, the scammer's going to ask you to confirm your name, your address, and your credit card information. I know. It never stops, right? So you have to know exactly what you order from which companies and when they're going to arrive. It's truly your first line of defense. But you really just have to be careful of any of these out-of-the-blue messages, especially if you haven't opted for any delivery alerts. And if anyone ever asks for personal information over the phone, you just want to hang up. And now there's another variance of this where they're saying like, oh, we need to charge you a delivery fee of like 4 cents or 40 cents, and then it ends up costing you $100. So again, just be on the alert because all the scams are just kind of popping up, especially this time of year. Hey, thanks for joining us. You can always find me at commando.com.
This program is a copyrighted production of Westar Multimedia Entertainment and protected by the copyright laws. Any rebroadcast or use of this program for commercial, business, economic, or financial purposes without the written permission of Westar Multimedia Entertainment is strictly prohibited.